Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at a film from 1935 called About Bananas.
Hmm.
And you might be surprised to know
Okay.
that this silent film from the Prelinger archives with its old-fashioned title cards has actually racked up over 27 million views on the
Wow.
Internet Archive.
That's a lot for a film about bananas.
It really is. Makes you wonder what's captured people's imagination all these years later.
Yeah, it's not exactly the most,
Blockbuster topic.
yeah, blockbuster topic.
Right. So we watched the film and did some digging into some of the comments online to see what we could find.
Yeah, I mean, the film itself takes us through the whole process of banana production, starting from clearing what they call virgin jungle
Yeah.
in Central America to make way for these huge plantations.
And that's one of the first things that really stood out to me.
Okay.
I mean, the film shows us this like really idyllic image of banana production, but it totally ignores the environmental cost
Yeah.
of clearing virgin jungle.
Absolutely, a real blind spot,
Right.
especially today.
Yeah.
Looking back, from the 1930s to now, our views on sustainability have come a long way. It's
Yeah.
just a very different time.
Totally. So the film goes on to show the whole process, like planting, irrigating, harvesting. You even see the workers loading up those giant banana boats
Hey, yeah.
that we all picture in our heads
Yeah.
when we think about how bananas get to us.
And then they go on to emphasize the nutritional value of bananas as well.
Right. Like they're trying to convince us that bananas are some kind of like miracle food.
Yeah, there's even a scene with a doctor prescribing bananas and milk to a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, some of the comments online also mention that the film feels kind of like propaganda.
Hmm.
What do you make of that?
Well, it was made during the Great Depression, and banana companies were trying to, boost sales.
Yeah.
So it makes sense they would create a film that shows bananas in such a positive light.
So you're saying this film was purposely made to, manipulate people's opinions?
It's possible. Back then, advertising was getting a lot more sophisticated,
Okay.
and people were starting to understand, like, the psychology behind persuasion and influencing people.
So this was like an early form of advertising, basically?
You could say that, yeah.
Interesting.
And there might even be a connection between this film and Edward Bernays,
Oh, wow.
the father of public relations, as they called him.
Okay.
He was known for using these really subtle techniques to sway public opinion.
So we could be looking at an early example of PR spin all about the humble banana.
It's a fascinating idea.
It is. But there's another piece to this story that we should talk about, and that's the United Fruit Company.
Okay.
Now, the film is focused on Central America,
Right.
which was where United Fruit had most of their operations back then.
Yeah, and this is where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Because United Fruit was super powerful back then,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically controlled the whole banana trade.
In the region.
Yeah.
And this brings us to that term that we saw in the comments, Banana Republic.
Now, for our listeners who might not know what that means,
Sure.
can you explain it?
Yeah, Banana Republic basically describes a country that's super dependent on just exporting one single crop,
Okay.
like bananas in this case. And that makes them vulnerable to exploitation by these foreign companies.
So they become so reliant on banana exports
Right.
that they end up losing control of their own economies
Yeah.
and political systems. Like a company town, but on like a national scale.
Exactly.
Wow.
And United Fruit, with all its money and political connections, played a big role in making that happen in Central America.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just selling bananas, they were influencing entire countries.
That's a pretty big legacy for a fruit company.
Yeah, really makes you think about the impact of globalization
Mm-hmm.
and like the power dynamics between these big corporations and developing countries.
Yeah, definitely. But there's one guy we got to talk about who embodies this whole story, Sam Zemurray,
Oh, yeah.
the so-called Banana King.
He was mentioned in some of the comments.
And his story is really important to understanding the power of United Fruit.
Okay, so Banana King.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like something out of a movie.
He's a real tycoon, like a force of nature in the banana world.
Okay.
Zemurray's story is like a classic tale of ambition and ruthlessness.
So how did he go from selling bananas on the street to becoming the Banana King?
He was a brilliant businessman, but he is also known for his cutthroat tactics.
Like what?
He took risks, he was tough on his competitors, and he wasn't afraid to use his influence to get what he wanted.
So I'm guessing this is where United Fruit comes in.
Yeah.
How'd he end up in charge of this huge company?
He basically took over United Fruit.
Really?
Yeah, you could call it a corporate coup.
Wow.
He saw an opportunity, and he took it, and then transformed United Fruit into an even bigger global powerhouse.
That's pretty bold. Makes you wonder what kind of person he had to be to pull that off.
Mhm.
So how does this connect back to our banana film,
Right.
was Zemery the brains behind it all?
It's very likely. Remember about bananas came out during the Depression when people were struggling financially?
Mm.
And Zemery needed to find creative ways to sell bananas and make money.
So he used this film as a marketing tool.
Exactly.
Wow.
Even back then, companies were finding clever ways to advertise.
Hmm.
And this is where Edward Bernays comes in again.
Okay.
Remember, the father of public relations.
Mm-hmm.
He believed you could influence what people want and how they behave,
Okay.
just by using carefully crafted messages.
So it wasn't just about promoting bananas, it was about creating a whole story around them.
Exactly. And that story, as we see in the film, focuses on how healthy bananas are,
Yeah.
how plentiful they are, and how efficient the banana industry is.
Right.
All very attractive messages during hard times.
It's amazing how a simple film about bananas can tell us so much about the history of business, marketing, and global trade.
It reminds us that even the most ordinary things have these fascinating stories.
Yeah.
And often those stories are connected to these big historical and economic forces.
We started out thinking about bananas, and now we're talking about corporate takeovers,
Right.
marketing strategies, and the impact of powerful companies on whole countries.
It is quite a journey.
It is.
And it raises some big questions.
Like what?
Like, how much has really changed since the 1930s? We might be more aware now of the environmental and social impacts of our food.
Yeah.
But are we really any less influenced by marketing and big companies?
That's a good question.
It is something to think about.
It's a really good question. I mean, we see marketing everywhere we go.
Oh, yeah.
For food, clothes, gadgets, you name it.
It's constant.
Yeah, it makes you think about how much of what we do is really our choice, you know?
That's true. But I think it's also empowering to understand how those tactics work.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know how marketing and these companies try to influence us, you can start to look at those messages differently.
Yeah.
You can ask yourself, okay, what are they really trying to sell me here?
Yeah.
And why?
Like having a secret decoder ring for the world of advertising.
Exactly.
So going back to the film,
Okay.
what do you think its legacy is? Like, why are people still watching this thing?
I think it's like a time capsule.
Okay.
It shows us a moment in history
Yeah.
when bananas were becoming a regular food for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But it also shows us the complicated side of the industry.
Yeah.
The environmental impact, the power of these companies,
Right.
and how marketing shaped what people thought about bananas.
Exactly. It reminds us that even something as simple as a banana has this whole complicated and sometimes controversial story behind it.
Totally. And I think that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds us that there's always more to learn, even about the most ordinary things.
So to recap, we've talked about this old film about bananas,
Right.
discovered the story of the Banana King,
Mm-hmm.
and we even dug into the history of how companies influence us and how they market things.
And how it's all connected.
Yeah, who knew a banana could be so complicated?
It shows you how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
Even a banana can connect us to history, economics, politics, even psychology.
So for our listeners out there, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
After hearing all of this, do you see bananas differently?
Yeah.
Do you think about the journey they took to get to your grocery store? The people who grew them and picked them?
Yeah.
The whole system that makes it all happen?
It's something to consider the next time you're having a banana.
Yeah.
There's a whole world hidden in that peel.
Keep exploring, everyone. Keep asking questions and keep on diving deep. Yeah, it really is food for thought, right?
It is.
But let's get back to the film for a second.
Okay.
What do you think is its lasting legacy?
Well, I think it acts as like a time capsule.
Okay.
You know, it gives us a peek into the past when bananas were first becoming a staple food for a lot of people.
Right.
But it also kind of exposes the dark side of the industry.
Yeah.
The environmental impact, the corporate power dynamics, you know, the whole marketing machine that shaped how people thought about bananas.
And it reminds us that even a banana has this complex and often controversial story behind it.
Exactly.
So to wrap things up, we've explored this vintage film about bananas,
Right.
uncovered the story of the Banana King, and we dug into the history of corporate influence and marketing.
It's amazing how something so seemingly simple can be so complex.
Who knew a simple banana could be so complicated, huh?
It's a testament to how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
Even a banana can connect us to history, economics, politics, you name it.
And for everyone listening out there,
Mm-hmm.
we'd love to leave you with something to ponder.
Okay, shoot.
After hearing all of this, do you look at bananas differently?
Yeah, Do you ever think about
Yeah.
the journey they took to get to your grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
The people who grew and harvested them?
Right.
All the factors that shaped the industry.
It's food for thought next time you grab a banana.
Definitely, there's a whole world hidden in that peel.
So keep exploring, everyone. Keep asking questions and keep on diving deep.